The security panel beeped at 11:47 p.m., and I knew Brielle was recording again. My wife had this habit of making her content when she thought I was asleep, whispering into her phone like some late-night confessional. Except instead of sins, she was peddling thirst traps to her followers. Before we dive deeper into this story, I have one small request. Please subscribe, drop a like, comment, and hit that hype button to boost this channel so more people can discover these incredible Reddit stories. I'm Miles Heron, 34 data compliance officer for a mid-tier tech company. Not exactly the stuff of romance novels, but it pays for our lakeside house in Crimson Lake Estates, where everyone pretends their marriages aren't slowly drowning in suburban quicksand. Hey, fitness fam, Brielle's voice drifted from the living room. Just finished my evening routine with some personal training tips from Ryder. Ryder Knox, the walking protein shake who'd been coaching my wife for 3 months. Funny how her fitness sessions always happened when I was at work, and how she'd come home glowing like she'd discovered the fountain of youth in his home gym. I crept to the doorway, watching Brielle pose in her sports bra, phone angled just right to catch the moonlight streaming through our floor-to-ceiling windows. She was beautiful. I'd never denied that. Blonde hair that caught light like spun gold, green eyes that could make a man forget his own name. At 31, she looked like she'd stepped off an Instagram ad for expensive skincare. Remember, ladies, she purred at the camera. Confidence is the most attractive accessory. Find a man who appreciates your dedication to fitness. The way she said man made it clear she wasn't talking about her husband. Our 8-year-old daughter Ava appeared in the hallway, rubbing her eyes. Daddy, Mommy's being loud again. I know, sweetheart. Let's get you back to bed. As I tucked Ava in, she mumbled sleepily. Mommy says you're boring now, but I think you're fun. Out of the mouths of babes. Glad to know my legacy was boredom and a perfectly calibrated home security system. The next morning, Brielle was all smiles and coffee kisses, like she hadn't spent the previous evening performing for her phone camera while talking about real men. She wore a tight yoga outfit that left nothing to imagination, preparing for another training session. Don't wait up, she said, grabbing her designer gym bag. Ryder's got me on an intensive program. I'll bet he does. Miles. My neighbor Mrs. Jane waved from her garden as Brielle drove off in her white BMW. Such a dedicated wife you have, always working on self-improvement. Mrs. Jane was 60-something with the observational skills of a CIA operative and the discretion of a town crier. She saw everything that happened in our gated community and had opinions about all of it. She's certainly dedicated, I agreed, checking my mailbox. That trainer of hers is quite athletic. I see him leaving at odd hours sometimes. The way she said it made my stomach clench. Mrs. Jane wasn't just gossiping. She was giving me intel. At work, my boss Elliot cornered me by the coffee machine. Mid-40s, divorced twice, he lived vicariously through other people's drama. How's the missus? He asked with that knowing smirk. Saw her latest post. Very motivational. I pulled out my phone and checked Brielle's Instagram. There she was, post-workout glow in full effect, captioned, "When your trainer pushes you to places you never knew existed. No limits. Real men, shackled dedication." The comments were exactly what you'd expect. Thirsty men and envious women, with Brielle responding to every compliment while ignoring the few supportive messages about our marriage. She's finding herself, I said flatly. Aren't we all? Elliot chuckled. Just remember, Miles, data compliance isn't just for work. Sometimes you need to audit your personal life too. That evening, I decided to do exactly that. Our smart home system was my domain. I'd installed every camera, configured every sensor, and managed every cloud backup. Brielle thought technology was magic. She never questioned how her photos automatically synced or how our security footage was stored. She should have. While she was at her weekly girls' night with Tasha and Celine, her two best friends who seemed to spend more time flirting with me than supporting her. I dove into our shared digital life. The cloud storage was a goldmine. Brielle had been backing up everything automatically, including photos she thought she'd deleted, pictures of her and Ryder at his apartment, videos of their training sessions that had nothing to do with fitness, messages that would make a sailor blush. But the real revelation was in her secondary phone, a burner she thought I didn't know about. Ryder wasn't her only extracurricular activity. There was Marcus, the contractor who'd renovated our bathroom, David, the photographer from her latest shoot, and at least 3 other men whose names I didn't recognize but whose intentions were crystal clear. My wife wasn't just cheating. She was running a full-scale operation. The front door opened with the musical chime of our security system. Brielle stumbled in, laughing with Tasha and Celine. All 3 women were in their early 30s, dressed like they were hunting for husbands instead of supporting existing marriages. "Miles," Tasha called out, her voice honey-sweet. "We missed you tonight." Tasha was the calculating one, brunette, sharp-featured, with eyes that missed nothing. She worked in marketing and treated every conversation like a campaign strategy. Celine was the wild card, redhead with freckles and a laugh that could wake anyone. She was reckless where Tasha was careful, impulsive where Tasha was planned. "Did you?" I asked, closing my laptop casually. "We always do," Celine giggled, settling onto our couch with the familiarity of someone who'd been there too many times. "Brielle talks about you constantly." Brielle's smile tightened, almost imperceptibly. "I'm going to change. You ladies make yourselves comfortable." The moment she left the room, the dynamic shifted. Tasha and Celine moved closer, their attention laser-focused on me. "You know," Tasha said, her voice dropping to a conspiratorial whisper, "Brielle doesn't appreciate what she has." "She's always complaining," Celine added, running her finger along the edge of my laptop. "Says you're too predictable." "Predictable can be good," Tasha murmured. "Reliable, trustworthy. Some of us value that." They were flirting, openly, aggressively, in my own living room while my wife was upstairs. And for the first time in months, I felt noticed. "I should probably head up," I said, standing. "Should you?" Tasha's hand brushed my arm. We were just getting comfortable. Brielle's footsteps on the stairs broke the moment. She appeared in a silk robe that barely covered anything, her expression stormy as she took in the scene. Her friends clustered around her husband, touching him, looking at him like he was dessert. "Ready for bed?" she asked me. But her eyes were on Tasha's hand, still resting on my forearm. "Actually," I said, gently removing Tasha's hand, "I think I'll stay up a bit longer. You ladies have a good night." I grabbed my laptop and headed to my home office, leaving the 3 of them to sort out whatever territorial drama was brewing. Through the thin walls, I could hear their voices, sharp, tense, nothing like the supportive friendship they projected on social media. An hour later, Tasha and Celine left without saying goodbye. Brielle came to my office, her robe now properly tied, her expression unreadable. "They really like you," she said carefully. "They're your friends." "Are they?" She leaned against the doorframe. "Sometimes I wonder if they're more interested in my husband than in me." "That would be awkward," I said, not looking up from my screen. "Miles." Her voice was softer now, vulnerable. "Are we okay?" I finally looked at her, really looked. She was beautiful, successful, the kind of woman other men envied me for having. She was also a stranger who happened to share my bed and my last name. "Are we?" I asked back. She didn't answer, just turned and walked away, leaving me alone with my laptop and the growing certainty that my marriage was already over. I just hadn't admitted it yet. Brielle's behavior shifted after that night. Where she'd been casually dismissive before, now she was aggressively territorial. She started posting couple photos again, strategically cropped shots of us at dinner, holding hands during walks, playing happy family with Ava. But at home, the temperature dropped to Arctic levels. "Your friends seem nice," I mentioned over breakfast, watching her scroll through comments on her latest post. "They're not my friends anymore," she said without looking up. "What happened?" "Nothing happened." Her tone could have frozen coffee. "I just realized they're not the kind of people I want in my life." Translation: she'd caught them flirting with me and couldn't handle the competition. The irony was delicious. Brielle had spent months using attention like a weapon, flirting with other men, posting thirst traps, making sure I knew exactly how many options she had. But the moment her own friends showed interest in me, she went nuclear. "Daddy," Ava said, looking up from her cereal. "Why doesn't Mommy like Aunt Tasha and Aunt Celine anymore?" "Sometimes adults have disagreements, sweetheart." "But they were here yesterday," Ava persisted. "They brought you cookies and said you were the best daddy ever." Brielle's phone clattered against the granite countertop. "They what?" "Yesterday afternoon," Ava continued innocently, "when you were at your workout. They said they wanted to surprise you, but then you came home early and they left really fast." The silence stretched like a taut wire. Brielle stared at me, her green eyes blazing with something between fury and panic. "I wasn't at a workout yesterday," she said slowly. "Must have been confused," I said mildly. "You know how kids mix up days." But Ava shook her head. "No, Mommy. You said you were going to see Ryder for your special exercises. Remember? If looks could ruin, I'd be chalk outline on the kitchen floor." Brielle's perfect facade cracked just enough to show the calculation underneath. "Ava, go get ready for school," she said, her voice calm. Our daughter skipped away, oblivious to the bomb she'd just detonated. "So," I said, taking a sip of coffee, "special exercises. It's not what you think." "I think it's exactly what I think." Brielle's hands shook as she reached for her phone. "Miles, I can explain." "Can you? Because I'm really curious about these special exercises. Are they the kind that require taking your wedding ring off? Because I noticed you haven't been wearing it to your sessions." Her face went white. She looked down at her bare ring finger like she'd never seen it before. "I take it off so it doesn't get damaged during workouts." "Right. Workouts." I stood, grabbing my laptop bag. "Well, enjoy today's session. I'm sure Ryder has some very intensive exercises planned." "Miles, wait!" But I was already walking away, leaving her sitting at our granite island in her silk robe, looking smaller than I'd ever seen her. At work, I couldn't concentrate. Every email felt meaningless, every compliance report like busy work, while my real life imploded. Around noon, my phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. "Hey, it's Tasha. Got your number from the school directory. Hope that's okay." I stared at the message for a long moment before responding. "What can I do for you?" "Can we talk? Not about Brielle, about something else. Coffee later?" "I don't think that's a good idea." "Please, it's important. And it's about Brielle, actually, things you should know." Against my better judgment, I agreed to meet her at Grind Coffee, a trendy place downtown where the baristas had art degrees and the Wi-Fi was fast enough for remote work. Tasha was already there when I arrived, looking polished in a way that seemed effortless, but probably took an hour to achieve. She'd claimed a corner table, 2 cups already waiting. "Thanks for coming," she said as I sat down. "I wasn't sure you would. You said it was about Brielle." "It is." Tasha leaned forward, her voice dropping. "Miles, how much do you actually know about what your wife does during the day?" "Apparently less than I thought." "She's not just cheating with Ryder." Tasha's words hit like a physical blow. "There are others, and it's not just physical. She's been collecting them, like trophies." "Why are you telling me this?" Tasha's smile was sharp as a blade. "Because Brielle thinks she's smarter than everyone else. She's been playing games with people's lives, and someone needs to stop her." Someone like you. Someone like us. The word hung in the air between us, loaded with possibility and danger. What do you want, Tasha? I want to help you get your life back. And maybe see what happens after. I should have walked away. Should have finished my coffee, thanked her for the information, and gone home to have an honest conversation with my wife. Instead, I leaned back in my chair and said, I'm listening. Tasha's plan was elegant in its simplicity. She and Celine had been documenting Brielle's behavior for months, not out of friendship, but out of self-preservation. Brielle had been using their secrets as leverage, threatening to expose their own indiscretions if they didn't play along with her games. She's got dirt on everyone, Tasha explained over our second round of coffee. Celine's affair with her boss, my tax situation. She collects secrets, like some people collect stamps. And now you want to collect hers. I want to level the playing field. Celine joined us an hour later, sliding into the booth with the nervous energy of someone about to commit a crime. Up close, without Brielle's commanding presence, both women seemed smaller, more human. Did you tell him about the photos? Celine asked without preamble. What photos? Tasha pulled out her phone, scrolling through what looked like a private Instagram account. Brielle's been documenting her conquests. Look. The images made my stomach turn, not because they were explicit, though some came close, but because they were methodical. Brielle with different men in different locations, each photo tagged with cryptic captions that read like a hunter's journal. She calls it her inspiration board, Celine said bitterly. Claims it's for her personal brand, but we know better. How did you get access to this? She gave us the password months ago, back when we were still useful to her, Tasha said. She wanted us to help her curate content, make sure she looked good in every shot. And you've been watching this whole time? We've been surviving, Celine snapped. You don't know what she's like when she doesn't get her way. She destroyed Sarah Martinez's marriage just because Sarah got more likes on a post. She's dangerous, Miles. I thought about my daughter, sleeping peacefully in a house with a woman who collected men like hunting trophies. The idea made my skin crawl. What do you want from me? Help us bring her down, Tasha said simply. And in return, we'll help you get out of this marriage with your dignity intact. And after? Tasha's smile was answer enough. We spent the next 2 hours planning. Nothing illegal. We weren't criminals. But Brielle had made enemies, and those enemies were ready to share what they knew. The contractor Marcus, who'd renovated our bathroom, was willing to talk about the additional services Brielle had requested. The photographer David had saved every inappropriate message she'd sent. Even Mrs. Jane, my observant neighbor, had been keeping a detailed log of Brielle's visitors. She's been sloppy, Celine observed. Too confident that no one would ever call her out. Confidence can be a weakness, I agreed. By the time we parted ways, I felt like I was seeing clearly for the first time in months. Brielle wasn't just cheating, she was predatory, and predators needed to be stopped. That evening, I came home to find Brielle in full domestic goddess mode. She'd cooked dinner, opened wine, and was wearing the kind of dress that had made me fall in love with her 7 years ago. I thought we could talk, she said, her voice soft and vulnerable. Really talk. About what? About us, about what we want, about how to fix this. She served dinner with the practiced grace of someone who'd done this dance before, the seduction, the apology, the promise to do better. It probably worked on her other targets. This is nice, I said, taking a bite of perfectly seasoned salmon. I want to try harder, she said, reaching across the table to touch my hand. I know I've been distant lately, distracted, but you're what matters. You and Ava. What about Ryder? Her hand stilled on mine. What about him? Are you going to keep seeing him? Miles, I told you. I know what you told me. I'm asking what you're going to do. The mask slipped for just a moment, revealing the calculation underneath. She was weighing her options, deciding how much truth she could afford. "I'll stop the training sessions if it bothers you that much." "It's not the training sessions that bother me, Brielle. It's the lying." "I haven't lied to you." I pulled out my phone, scrolling to her secret Instagram account. Tasha had given me the password, and I'd spent my lunch break studying every post, every comment, every carefully crafted image. "Then what's this?" The color drained from her face as she recognized her own photos. "How did you— Does it matter?" She stared at the screen, her perfect composure cracking like ice in spring. "Miles, I can explain." "Can you explain Marcus? David? The 3 guys from your yoga class? Or should we start with Ryder and work our way through the list?" Brielle's wine glass trembled in her hand. "You don't understand. It's not what it looks like." "What does it look like, Brielle?" "It looks like you've been spying on me. It looks like you've been lying to me." She set down her glass with deliberate care, her mask sliding back into place. "Fine. Yes, I've been seeing other people. But so what? You think I don't know about your little coffee date with Tasha today? How did you— I know everything, Miles. Every move you make, every person you talk to. Did you really think you could outplay me?" The woman sitting across from me wasn't my wife anymore. She was a stranger wearing Brielle's face, speaking with Brielle's voice, but radiating a cold intelligence that made my skin crawl. "So what now?" I asked. "Now we play the game properly," she said, her smile sharp as broken glass. "And may the best player win." The next morning, Brielle was gone before I woke up. No note, no text, just an empty coffee cup in the sink and the lingering scent of her perfume. Ava was already at her friend's house for a sleepover, leaving me alone in our suddenly too quiet house. My phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. "Check your email." T. Tasha had sent me a detailed dossier on my wife's activities, bank statements showing cash withdrawals that coincided with her training sessions, hotel receipts, restaurant bills for meals I'd never shared, even GPS data from her phone painting a picture of a woman living a completely separate life. But the real bombshell was in the final attachment, a recording. "I have to be careful." Brielle's voice was crystal clear through my laptop speakers. "Miles is getting suspicious, but he's too weak to actually do anything about it." "What if he finds out about the others?" A male voice I didn't recognize. "Then I'll deny everything and make him look crazy. Who's going to believe him? I'm the victim here. Neglected wife, absent husband, all that sympathy bullshit. And if that doesn't work, then I'll take him for everything he's worth. The house, the savings, custody of Ava. By the time I'm done with him, he'll wish he'd just stayed quiet and let me have my fun." The recording ended, leaving me staring at my reflection in the laptop screen. I looked older than my 34 years, worn down by months of gaslighting and manipulation. My phone rang. "Tasha." "Did you listen to it? Where did you get this?" "Celine recorded it last month at one of Brielle's strategy sessions. She's been planning this for a while, Miles. The question is, what are you going to do about it?" I thought about my daughter, innocent and trusting, being used as a weapon in her mother's war. I thought about the house I'd bought with my own money, the savings account I'd built through years of careful planning. I thought about the life I'd built being torn apart by someone who saw love as a game to be won. I'm going to fight back. Good, because we have a plan. That afternoon, I met with a lawyer, not the family practice attorney Brielle would expect, but a specialist in high-conflict divorces recommended by Tasha's marketing firm. Jennifer Walsh was sharp, experienced, and had seen every trick in the book. "Your wife is what we call a high-conflict personality," she explained after reviewing the evidence. "She sees relationships as zero-sum games. For her to win, you have to lose. How do I protect myself? By being smarter than she is. Document everything, control the narrative, and never let her see you coming. Jennifer outlined a strategy that was both elegant and ruthless. Since I was the sole owner of our house and primary earner, I had more leverage than Brielle realized. Her social media presence, which she saw as an asset, could be turned against her in custody proceedings. "The key is patience," Jennifer warned. "Don't react emotionally. Don't give her ammunition. Just gather evidence and wait for the right moment to strike." That evening, Brielle came home with an armload of shopping bags and a smile that didn't reach her eyes. "I thought we could have a family night," she announced, pulling out Ava's favorite takeout. "Pizza, movies, just the three of us." "Sounds perfect." She studied my face, looking for signs of weakness or anger. Finding neither seemed to unsettle her more than if I'd screamed. "How was your day?" she asked casually. "Productive. Yours?" "Oh, errands, meetings, the usual." According to the GPS data Tasha had sent me, Brielle had spent 3 hours at Ryder's apartment, but I just nodded and helped set up for our family movie night. Ava was delighted to have both parents' attention, chattering about school and friends while we watched animated movies on our massive living room TV. For a few hours, we almost looked like a normal family. But I caught Brielle watching me during the quiet moments, her expression calculating. She was waiting for me to break, to confront her, to give her the emotional reaction she needed to justify whatever came next. I didn't give it to her. "Daddy," Ava said as I tucked her in that night, "are you and Mommy fighting?" "Why do you ask, sweetheart?" "Because Mommy keeps looking at you like she's mad, but she's trying not to show it. Kids see everything. Sometimes adults have complicated feelings, but whatever happens between Mommy and me, we both love you very much." "I know." Ava hugged me tight. "But I like it better when everyone's happy." "Me too, baby. Me too." When I came back downstairs, Brielle was waiting in the kitchen with 2 glasses of wine. "She's a good kid," she said, offering me a glass. "The best." "Miles." Her voice was soft, vulnerable again. "I know things have been weird between us lately, but we can fix this. We can be a family again." "Can we?" "Yes, but you have to trust me, and you have to stop investigating me." There it was, the real reason for tonight's performance. "I don't know what you mean." "The coffee with Tasha. The questions about my schedule. The way you've been watching me." Her green eyes were hard, despite her gentle tone. "It has to stop." "Or what?" "Or I'll have to protect myself. And Ava." The threat was subtle, but unmistakable. She was willing to use our daughter as a weapon. "I understand," I said, taking a sip of wine. "Good." Her smile was radiant, victorious. "I knew you'd see reason." But as I headed upstairs, I was already planning my next move. Brielle thought she was the only one who could play games. She was about to learn otherwise. 2 weeks later, everything came together like pieces of a perfectly planned puzzle. I'd spent the time documenting everything: Brielle's lies, her affairs, her threats. Jennifer Walsh had prepared the paperwork, and Tasha had coordinated with the other women Brielle had wronged. The charity gala was Brielle's idea, a fundraiser for the local children's hospital, held at the Lakeside Country Club, where all of Crimson Lake's elite gathered to see and be seen. Brielle had been planning it for months, seeing it as her chance to cement her status as the neighborhood's queen bee. She looked stunning that night in a black dress that cost more than most people's monthly salary. Her hair was perfect, her makeup flawless, her smile bright enough to power the venue's chandeliers. "You look beautiful," I told her, as we posed for photos in our foyer. "Thank you." She adjusted my tie with the proprietary air of someone who owned me. "Tonight's important, Miles. I need you to be supportive." "Of course." The country club was packed with everyone who mattered in our little corner of the world. Business leaders, social media influencers, old money families who'd been here for generations. Brielle worked the room like a politician, air-kissing and networking with practiced ease. I played my part perfectly, the supportive husband, proud of his accomplished wife. But I was also watching, waiting for the right moment. It came during Brielle's speech. She stood at the podium, radiant in the spotlight, talking about community and family values. The irony was so thick you could cut it with a knife. "Marriage isn't always easy," she was saying, her eyes finding mine in the crowd. "It takes work, commitment, and most importantly, trust. My husband Miles and I have built our relationship on honesty and mutual respect." The applause was polite, but enthusiastic. Brielle was beloved here, seen as the perfect combination of beauty, success, and virtue. That's when Tasha stood up. "I'm sorry to interrupt," she said, her voice carrying clearly through the microphone she'd somehow acquired. "But I think there's something everyone should know about honesty and mutual respect." The room went dead silent. Brielle's face went white, then red, then white again. "Tasha, what are you doing?" "I'm telling the truth." Tasha pulled out her phone, connecting it to the venue's sound system with equipment she'd clearly prepared in advance. "About who you really are." The recording began to play. Brielle's voice, crystal clear, talking about manipulating me, using our daughter as a weapon, planning to destroy my life for her own entertainment. The room erupted. Gasps, whispers, the sound of phones being pulled out to record the drama. Brielle stood frozen at the podium, her perfect facade cracking in real time. But Tasha wasn't done. "Ladies and gentlemen," she continued, "I'd like you to meet some of Brielle's other victims." One by one, they stood up. Marcus the contractor, David the photographer, 3 other men whose lives Brielle had disrupted with her games, and behind them their wives, women who'd been hurt, humiliated, and left to pick up the pieces. "This woman," Tasha said, pointing at Brielle, "has been systematically destroying marriages and families for her own entertainment. She collects men like trophies and discards them when she gets bored." The evidence was overwhelming. Photos, messages, recordings, all displayed on the venue's screens for everyone to see. Brielle's secret Instagram account, her collection of conquest photos, her detailed plans for manipulating the people around her. "You're lying," Brielle finally found her voice. But it came out as a whisper. "This is all fake, photoshopped. Miles, tell them this is fake." All eyes turned to me, the supportive husband, the loyal partner, the man who should be defending his wife against these terrible accusations. Instead, I stood up and walked to the podium. "Ladies and gentlemen," I said, my voice steady despite the adrenaline coursing through my veins, "I want to thank you all for coming tonight to support the Children's Hospital. Unfortunately, I won't be able to stay for the rest of the evening." I pulled out a manila envelope, handing it to Brielle with the same calm precision I used for work presentations. "Brielle, you're being served with divorce papers. You have 30 days to vacate the house. All your belongings will be packed and waiting." The room exploded again. Cameras flashed, voices rose, and somewhere in the chaos, I heard Brielle screaming my name. But I was already walking away, leaving her standing alone at the podium, her perfect world crumbling around her, like a house of cards in a hurricane. Outside, Tasha was waiting by my car. "How do you feel?" she asked. I thought about it for a moment, listening to the chaos still erupting inside the country club. "Free." "Good." She smiled, and for the first time in months, someone's smile felt genuine. "Because this is just the beginning." 6 months later, the divorce was final. Brielle had tried every trick in her arsenal: tears, threats, accusations, even an attempt at seduction that was both pathetic and disturbing. None of it worked. I kept the house, the savings, and primary custody of Ava. Brielle got visitation rights and a harsh lesson in the consequences of treating people like game pieces. She left Crimson Lake eventually, chasing some new opportunity in a city where nobody knew her history. I heard through the grapevine that she'd tried to reinvent herself as a victim, claiming I'd abused and manipulated her. But the evidence was too overwhelming, her reputation too damaged. Tasha and I took things slowly. We were both healing from toxic relationships, both learning to trust again. But there was something real between us, something built on honesty instead of manipulation. "Do you ever regret it?" she asked one evening, as we watched the sunset from my back deck, Ava playing in the yard with her friends. "Regret what?" "Fighting back, destroying her." I thought about Brielle, wherever she was now, probably weaving new webs and planning new games. I thought about the men she'd hurt, the families she'd damaged, the children who'd suffered because of her selfishness. "No," I said finally. "Some people need to be stopped." Tasha nodded, understanding. We'd both learned the hard way that sometimes the only way to win against a predator is to become better at the game than they are. In the distance, Ava's laughter carried on the evening breeze, pure and innocent and free. She was safe now, protected from her mother's toxic influence, growing up in a house built on truth instead of lies, and that was worth everything.